Hi everyone and welcome back to Take 5. Did you know that buildings take nearly 37% of global emissions today? And that's a huge number, but the good news is it's also one of the areas where we can make substantive change as we race towards a net zero future. There's many things we can do in this space, and I'm here with someone today, Louise Munger, Vice President for Digital Buildings, who's a very personal advocate for change in this space around driving sustainable outcomes in the built environment. So welcome, Louise. So Louise, tell me, we've got two crises happening today. We've got an energy crisis, which is really fast-tracked over the last couple of years, and therefore with it costs as well that many people are feeling. And we've also got a more existential crisis that's been happening for some time, which is that of climate. These two crises land in this space, and it really presents now an opportunity for us to rethink what we do in this space. So maybe, Louise, the first question I would have for you would be, with both of those, what can we do differently?
Well, look, as you mentioned, buildings are responsible for 37% of global CO2 emissions. At the same time, 30% of the energy used in buildings is wasted energy that didn't need to be used in the first place. Really simple example is heating and cooling empty, spaces in office buildings. So through automation, if we can reduce that energy, we're addressing the demand side reduction whilst also supporting, reduction for climate change.
Okay. So I mean, buildings are owned by people or run by people. So what actions can owners and operators of buildings do to achieve their net zero outcomes?
Yeah. We look at a building, 30% of the carbon is embodied carbon, so carbon that was created at the time of construction in materials, but 70% is operational carbon. So that's carbon from fossil fuels, inefficient operation, and non-renewable sources. So owners can tackle that in three ways. Firstly, automation, so reducing the energy that's being used through automation of systems, electrification, degasification in buildings, and finally switching to renewable energy sources.
Okay, very good. So a lot of the buildings that will contribute to emissions in a couple of decades are already here. So we have to retrofit a lot to achieve this net zero outcome that we all need. So what can we do in retrofitting the existing built environment that is here today?
Yeah, it's really important to think that retrofit is not one size fits all. So each different, aspect of a retrofit will have a different return of investment, and we really need to pitch that at the right level, light, medium or intense, depending on that asset, how it sits, who it competes with, whether it's a short, medium or long-term hold. So that could be really light touch interventions such as upgrading the automation systems. There could be a medium intervention which might also include electrical infrastructure, or you might have a heavy retrofit which could include degasification and even doing work to the building envelope. Okay,
so I've heard you say many times, Louise, that there are three big areas that we can make substantive change in within the built environment, and they, if I recall, are retail, they are healthcare and commercial real estate. Why those and what can we do?
Yeah, and all for different reasons. If we think about retail portfolios, geographically dispersed, a good example is service stations, very labour intensive to respond to issues at those. If we can get visibility of all of the assets in those portfolios, control them remotely, there's a huge opportunity to drive those portfolios to be more efficient. In healthcare, it's really about that all-electric, all-digital hospital, and many of the healthcare, people that we're working with are just starting out on that journey and understanding what can be done there. And finally, in office, the office market is doing a really good job in those premium grade assets, but the mid-market is falling behind. So there's a real opportunity to upgrade the systems and infrastructure in mid-market assets for net zero readiness.
So one of the things is people can learn from others. They've already initiated action. What kind of success, what kind of activities have you already seen?
Yeah, we are seeing people get started on this. So we have an example of a hospital over in New Zealand that has started the process of degasification. So that would be, a best-in-class example. We're also working with a large number of university campuses where we're doing automation and the use of analytics and AI to drive efficiency in operation as well as energy reduction.
Okay. And buildings are a little bit like people. Everyone is unique and individual and has its own pathway towards decarbonisation, but a few vectors will be be common. One is it will be technology-led, it will be people-led in terms of the changes that need to happen. But what is very clear is to achieve this, we need to make buildings more efficient. We need to make them drive more sustainable outcomes, and we will make a big impact on decarbonising Australia and New Zealand if we do that. Thank you.